still kind of hanging out above us. So they'll get the field ready pretty quickly, I'm sure, here, if and when the time comes. But no real update to speak of. Obviously, we'll let you know, Sam, if anything changes. And as soon as we get any kind of official word from the Nationals about a restart time, you sometimes look around for hints of what, might be happening. It looks like in the Nationals bullpen, the mound is now uncovered. That is a generally positive sign. It looks like they're peeling back the tarp on the mound in the Padre bullpen. So if we're looking for good news or signs of good news, I would say maybe there's something there. They've got the tarp pulled up from around the home plate area right now, and they're kind of raking that. So, there are some signs of baseball life here as the rain lets up a little bit. And hopefully, with more rain in the forecast throughout the afternoon, Padres and Nationals are able to get in this game one way or another here today. So that's what we've got for you. Maybe an update coming shortly as they are appearing to do some stuff down on the field, and Sammy will let you know.
Okay, well, that's good news. We like some stuff down on the field, and we'll check back in with Jesse and Tony at some point, get the latest update on what's going on in Washington, D.C. Again, we are in the midst of a rain delay between the Padres and the Nationals. Top of the first inning, Padres do have the bases loaded with 2 outs, Ha-Sung Kim at the plate. So we'll continue to give you updates when we find out more about what's going on in D.C. You certainly hope they can resume this game sooner rather than later. And again, like Jesse and Tony were alluding to, the major question right now is just the pitching. Patrick Corbin already went out through 23 pitches for the Nationals. Dylan Cease was warmed up, ready to go in the bottom half of the first inning, or I should say for the bottom half of the first inning. Never got an opportunity to go out there and do it. So we'll see what the pitching situation is for both these teams moving forward in this game. We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll take some of your phone calls, 833-288-0973. Again, the phone number, 833-288-0973. We can talk about the trade deadline, this win streak for the Padres, this current road trip, what they've done on the pitching and offensive side of things as of late. Again, the phone number, 833-288-0973 if you want to get involved. Then we'll also mix in some other rain delay programming. We have a David Peralta interview. He was on the station a couple of weeks ago on Gwynn and Chris, so we'll revisit that, replay that for you as well. Again, a rain delay in Washington this morning. Padres and the Nationals scoreless in the first inning in D.C. More rain delay coverage after this.
Tony Gwynn Jr., taking care of myself is my number one priority. That's why I started taking Symbiotica, the leading health and wellness brand that creates clean, high-quality supplements to help me stay on top of my game, day in and day out, all season long. Symbiotica's delicious, high-quality formulas make me feel alert, strong, and healthy every day. First product I subscribed to with Symbiotica was one easy-to-squeeze packet of magnesium L-threonate, which tastes like delicious vanilla cream. Head to Symbiotica.com and use code PADRES for 15% off, plus free shipping.
Energy-efficient windows, total roofing protection, and exterior house painting. It's all here at Genesis Home Improvements. With over 19 years of experience and a reputation built on trust and customer satisfaction, Genesis Home Improvements is your go-to partner for all your home improvement needs. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Lifetime warranty on all products. 100% financing. No money down. It's time to breathe new life into your home. Save 15% today. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsST.com.
Hey, it's Graby here from Gwynn and Chris, and you've heard me talking about all the great things that Kaiser Permanente does. And with my shoulder on the mend, I have never had to see so many different doctors, and at first, it was intimidating. But I shouldn't have worried because Kaiser Permanente has over 1,500 doctors in San Diego, and Kaiser Permanente has the most care all in one building. I got my MRI, my surgery, and I am completing physical therapy, and I don't have to go anywhere else. For more information, go to kp.org/San Diego. Kaiser Permanente, for all that is you.
Back here inside our San Diego studios, our rain delay programming continues. The Padres and the Nationals in the midst of a rain delay in Washington, D.C. Sam Levitt back with you inside our San Diego studios. We'll continue to provide you updates when we have them on the situation in D.C. What we know right now, tarp is on the field. I'm not sure if the rain is still coming down at the moment, but we are still very much in the midst of this rain delay. Padres do have a good scoring opportunity in the first inning. Bases loaded. period. 2 outs, Ha-Sung Kim at the plate against Patrick Corbin, a 1-0 count. And that's where we are. But honestly, that's just part of the story right now, because as this delay gets longer and longer, you do have to wonder about the status of both Patrick Corbin for the Nationals and Dylan Cease for the Padres. Dylan Cease got warmed up, never got an opportunity to pitch in the bottom half of the first inning, and Patrick Corbin already 23 pitches into his outing. 833-288-0973. The phone number if you want to get involved, 833-288-0973. The phone number if you want to talk Padres. We'll talk about this win streak, about the trade deadline, about what they've been doing on this road trip, anything you want to discuss. That's the one nice thing about a rain delay. We have a very blank canvas Padres-wise. So we'll take your phone calls, and we'll begin with Jamie calling in from San Ysidro. Hi, Jamie. You're on the Padres rain delay show, if you will. How are you?
Hey, Sammy Lev, hardest working man in baseball. How's it going?
I'm doing well.
You must have been up pretty early for breakfast, and you go from now until 2 o'clock.
I look. I'll be honest with you, Jamie. This is not our favorite thing, to have an early game, have most importantly, be able to get out of here by like noon, 1 p.m. And now we've got a rain delay that's thrown a wrench into all the plans. But it's okay. It's baseball. It happens.
That boxes it all up. I was going to mention that hopefully they play it, because with as tight as the race is right now, I couldn't imagine having to play this game and finish it at the end of the season if, we're jammed up in a tie with somebody to get into the playoffs. Then you got to play another game, use another pitcher. You're trying to line up the playoffs. That would be a gong show.
Yeah, look, I don't think I'm there yet, Jamie, as far as worrying about, how they would make it up. I mean, let's see if they resume this game. Obviously, you want to get this game in, because we're still... Well, I should say we're pretty late in the season already. It's already towards the end of July. You're right. These two teams do not play one another again. And if you did have to go and play this game later in the year, it would be a real question as to how you would get that done. It really would. So I'm with you, Jamie. I would imagine, and especially with the Padres playing nearby in Baltimore tomorrow, I have to look up where the Nationals go after this, but I'd imagine that we are going to wait a while here, because it's the last time these teams play one another. And once you start getting into how you would resume a game, how you would figure out a way to make this one up later in the year, it becomes a very, very hard situation this late, and with these two teams obviously on opposite sides of the country. So I think we're still a ways away from that, Jamie.
Well, whatever you've been doing since the All-Star break, and I know you work hard. You're doing 12-hour days. If you've been doing 16-hour days since the All-Star break, man, I'm sorry you have to keep doing it. Good luck to you.
All right, Jamie. Well, hey, they're off to a good start. Appreciate the phone call very much. Look, they're playing well right now, no doubt. They've won 4 out of 5 on this road trip, and we'll see if they can continue to play well. Again, this game on paper, I think, was shaping up very nicely for the Padres, because they had Dylan Cease on the mound, a guy who has been simply dominant as of late, and facing a guy in Patrick Corbin who's been pretty good lately, but Corbin is a guy who is generally pretty hittable. So on paper, you consider the way the Padres were playing Dylan Cease on the mound today, I think you felt really good, and right now you should still feel pretty good, even though the rain delay may be kind of messing things up here a little bit with the pitching side of things, and we'll see how it all goes when they resume this game, if Dylan Cease comes out or not, if Patrick Corbin comes out or not. But no doubt from the outset, this seemed like a very favorable matchup for the Padres. It did seem that way, and we'll see what the pitching situation is when we resume. The other part of this that is really important to note, and I think is part of what makes this really interesting, and you wonder if this does end up being a really lengthy delay, what exactly the Padres do. Well, remember, tomorrow we were still not certain on what the Padres' plans were pitching-wise. And I'll read this from Kevin Acee in the San Diego Union Tribune from this morning, because this sort of details the entire situation. The Padres and this is from Kevin, the Padres have not officially determined who will start tomorrow's series opener against the Orioles. It will not be Michael King, who is being given a 5th day of rest, and it will not be Johnny Brito, who had an injury scare with forearm discomfort last week and has just resumed playing catch with no date set for a return starting in AAA. So Kevin writes here, it will almost certainly not be a pitcher the Padres trade for. Kevin later writing, so it could be Adam Mazur, though the consensus seems to be he is best served working in the minor leagues. Lefty Jackson Wolf or Nabil Krismat. The latter would likely be the opener in a bullpen game if he were called up. So there's a lot to chew on there, but the main takeaway is this. It's not going to be Michael King tomorrow, and we still don't know what the Padres' pitching plans are for tomorrow in Baltimore. So again, it makes it sort of an interesting situation, right? Where, depending on how long this delay goes, if Dylan Cease, let's say, isn't going to come back out, well, how do they use Cease moving forward? And what do you do for tomorrow? We do have an update, though, for you. An update as our reporters in Washington give us the update. The tarp is apparently coming off the field in Washington. So that means one of two things. Number one, it looks like we're going to resume this game pretty quickly. And number two, it'll still be a little bit here. It will. Look, they've got to get the field ready again, and everybody's got to get warmed up. So it'll be a little bit, and we'll continue to provide the updates. But that is good news from Washington. The tarp is reportedly coming off the field. Let's quickly pause for station ID on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. We continue our rain delay programming. Again, rain delay between the Padres and the Nationals. Game 3, the final game of this 3-game series. Padres going for a series sweep. Let's go back to the phones. We've got plenty of people waiting on hold. Let's go to Jake in San Diego calling in. Hi, Jake. You're on our rain delay programming here on the Padres Radio Network. What's up?
Hey, Sam. I was just wondering, why do you think Kim is taking at-bats from Solano? I think we could put Bogarts back at shortstop. Solano just hits, it seems like, to me. What do you think?
Well, look, it's a tough question right now, Jake, and appreciate the phone call. And I think there are a lot of different aspects to what you just brought up and the dynamic between Solano and Kim and Bogarts. Look, Solano's in the lineup today. I was a little bit surprised, quite frankly, that he wasn't in the lineup yesterday against the left-hander. I just expected he would be because he hadn't made a start yet since the All-Star break, and finally here today, Game 6 out of the break, he makes a start. Look, the Solano part of it, and I talked about it pregame, it's a tough situation because he had been so impactful and so productive for this team. And then all of a sudden he goes from playing every day to really not being in the lineup at all. And look, it's to no fault of his, and really no fault, sorry, an alarm going off on my phone. That's my alarm to to do the updates on the other stations. But we're in a rain delay, so things getting a little wacky here. But back to Solano. Look, was batting .292 on the year. In a span of 16 starts before the All-Star break, was batting .333 with 5 doubles, and he's batting .303 against lefties on the year, facing a lefty today in Patrick Corbin. Today felt like a good day to get him in. But look, does it hurt a little bit to have a guy who has been so very productive now out of the lineup on most days? It does, but I've made this argument before, and the argument is this. The idea, the hope, I think, is that with Solano on the bench, a veteran piece, somebody you know can get a base hit in a big spot, great approach at the plate, hopefully what it gives you is a better, deeper team. Hopefully that's what you are. With Bogarts back, and he's been hitting, albeit all singles, but he's putting bat on ball. Hopefully what you are is a better, deeper team. But are they, sort of putting Solano in a role where you don't get the most out of him? Yeah, that's definitely true right now. It is. Look, he had been really good, and all of a sudden he's not in the lineup on most days, and this is his first start here today out of the All-Star break. So, look, it is what it is right now. I really don't see it changing. I know Kim has struggled. I think the Bogarts, look, I've toyed with that in my head as well. The idea of Bogarts going back to shortstop, maybe on some days at least, in an effort to maybe get Solano in there more. Kim obviously has not had the same offensive season, but we've been shown no indication that he's going anywhere as far as playing time. So to me, I think the thing you hope is this, that Bogarts continues to hit and that you are just a better, deeper team with Donovan Solano on a lot of days coming off the bench and hopefully being productive when he gets a start. I just don't know unless you're willing to split some time with Kim, and then that begs the question of what do you do at shortstop? I mean, look, Xander Bogaerts, and this was also from Kevin Acee in the San Diego Union Tribune this morning, and I'll read this from Kevin. Bogaerts said yesterday afternoon he's holding back a little bit, both at the plate and in the field. This was a quote from Bogaerts. Quote, I'd say maybe the diving part. This is Kevin writing. He lamented a play he felt he could have made at second base with a more aggressive dive in the 8th inning Friday in Cleveland. It was on a dive for a grounder on May 20th that Bogaerts got hurt. This was a quote from Xander. That is very mental. The doctors say you're good, but that's just very hard. So, and also Kevin writing Bogaerts said he has also been hesitant to swing as hard as he can. So look, it certainly appears that there's a little hesitation on the part of Xander in the field and at the plate right now. And I thought Ben and Woods this morning did a good job bringing up this point that, well, maybe the idea that Bogaerts could go play shortstop is kind of it's not a great one right now because he's not really ready to put his body on the line like that coming off the injury. So, it's a tough situation. Kim's not hitting. Solano's been really impactful. Bogaerts is going to play. It's a bit of an imperfect situation where you have a lot of guys, too many guys for too few infield spots and too few spots in the lineup. But again, I think ideally the way you want to look at this over the course of the final couple of months is hopefully you're a better, deeper team with Solano coming off the bench. Looks like Kim's going to play every day still, and Bogaerts at second base and hitting. And hopefully it's just a better, deeper group. All right, we have an update for you. Is this official, what I've been written here? Okay, then I'm going with it. Game resuming at 10:30 a.m. So we are 25 minutes away from this game resuming in Washington. 10:30 a.m. restart time for today's game in Washington, D.C. So that's very good news. Now, again, the question becomes, is Patrick Corbin going to come back out? Is Dylan Cease going to come back out? I guess it'll be around an hour and 15-minute delay by the time they restart. So for Dylan Cease, by the time he gets out there, it could be more like an hour, 20, 30-minute delay. I mean, that's not nothing. I'm curious to see what happens here with the Padres side of things on the pitching and the Nationals side of things on the pitching. So look, it's not the longest rain delay we've ever seen, but it'll end up being about, again, I don't know the exact minute that they pulled the guys off the field, but the game started at 9:05. So by the time we get to 10:30, you would imagine that's probably somewhere around an hour 15, hour 20-minute rain delay. So we'll see. All right, let's step aside for a moment. We'll come back. We'll take more of your phone calls, and we'll get things set up here again. Game will restart at 10:30 a.m. We will keep you company until then. Padres have the bases loaded in the first inning. 2 outs, Ha-Sung Kim at the plate. Will return after this on the Padres Radio Network. Back here inside our San Diego studios, Sam Levitt with you on the Padres Radio Network. We are still in the midst of a rain delay in Washington, D.C. That's the bad news. The good news is that the tarp is off the field, and we will restart today's game at 10:30 a.m. here Pacific time in San Diego. So we are just about 23 minutes away from that, so stay tuned. We will restart this game in just a little bit. Jesse and Tony will rejoin you a little bit before 10:30 a.m., reset the scene from Washington, D.C. Again, the Padres do have a threat in the first inning, bases loaded. 2 outs, 1-0 count on Ha-Seong Kim. Patrick Corbin on the mound. So, look, like we said earlier, and we'll get back to your phone calls here in a second, 833-288-0973, the phone number as we keep you company here on our rain delay programming. But there are a number of different questions that I have right now about this game. Number one, is Patrick Corbin coming back out? Again, it's going to end up being about an hour, 15-minute delay for Dylan Cease. It'll end up being a little bit more by the time he gets on the mound in the bottom half of the first inning. I think it was around 9:24-25 local time when the tarp went on the field. So it's not the longest rain delay ever, but it's not like these guys sat down for a half hour. I mean, it will end up being, just for Dylan Cease, it'll end up being from the time he warmed up in the bullpen to the time he takes the mound in the bottom half of the first inning, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of an hour 30 to hour 40. That's a while. I'm just totally speculating here, but I'm curious to see what the pitching looks like now for both these teams. Is Corbin going to come back out? Is Cease going to come back out? If I see any information on that, receive any information on that in the next 10, 15 minutes, I'll pass it along. But it's going to get a little interesting on the pitching side of things because, look, it's exactly what you don't want as a team, right? Let's be honest. What happened in Washington, and I'm not pointing a finger of blame at anybody. It is what it is. But it's exactly what you don't want, to start a game and then in the top of the first inning, you got to go into a delay when your pitchers are hot. And in the Nationals case, you've already got your starting pitcher 23 pitches in. It's the situation you don't want. And unfortunately, it's happened. And now we see how the Padres and Nationals either adjust or don't adjust from there. For all we know, Corbin's going to come out, Cease is going to come out, and we move along here. But we'll see what the situation is. All right, let's go back to the phones, 833-288-0973. Let's go to Mike calling in from Chula Vista. Hi, Mike.
Sam, this is why you're the best, man. That's why you need to be primetime, because you're interacting with the fans. You're taking our calls. You're allowing us to vent and or comment on our Padres, man, and we just really appreciate it, dude. I make no mistake about it. I think the spark lately from our team, besides the starting pitching, is Xander Bogaerts, 100%. I think he's now playing up to his contract. Ironically, him getting hurt maybe is the best thing for this team, because he has come out with a vengeance. And if he keeps playing like this and continues to spark for the Padres, we will be very tough, down the stretch here. I do believe keeping Kim at shortstop is the only reason he's in. Speaking of Kim, because of his defense is amazing. Xander probably not better at shortstop than Kim. So hopefully Kim could get it going. Then we'll really be tough. Thanks, Sam, again, for all you do, buddy.
Yeah, Mike, appreciate the kind words and appreciate the phone call. Look, I think with Ha-Seong Kim, you just got to hope that he starts getting it going, right? He's batting sixth today. He was 0 for 3 yesterday. Did find a way on base a handful of times, 2 walks, a fielder's choice, scored 3 runs. So he actually did contribute yesterday. But look, getting Ha-Seong going offensively would be a big boost for this lineup. And look, I know there's been a lot of conversation about Kim and his playing time, his struggles at the plate, having a guy in Solano sitting on the bench most days now. And look, it's a hard thing to ignore because Solano has been so productive when he's been in there. I think we all understand that. It's a bit of a tough situation to have Solano after all the good he did when he was starting every day. Now sitting on the bench on most days. Like I've said, and I don't mean to hammer this home too much, I think ideally what you hope for is that you feel like with Bogaerts back, and I'll get to him in a second, Mike, but with Bogaerts back in hitting, and hopefully Kim heats up at the plate, and you have a guy, a veteran in Solano coming off the bench, I think the hope is that you're just a better, deeper team, a more well-rounded team. But yeah, it's a bit of a tough situation for a guy like Solano, who had been so productive when he was starting every day, and we went over some of the numbers a little bit earlier. He had been great, a span of 16 games starting every day before, Bogaerts came back. He was hitting well over 300, so he was really productive. He's in the lineup today, already had a base hit in today's game, so picking up right where he left off. As far as Xander Bogaerts, I said this over the last couple of nights on the post-game show. I think you have to be very pleased with what he's done so far. I know it's all been singles. He came into today 14 for 29 since coming off the IL. It's all singles, but the fact that he continues to put the bat on the ball, I think, is a great sign. And the fact that he's contributing is a great sign. Remember, the first month and a half, 2 months of the season for Xander Bogaerts offensively were really tough. He had really struggled before the injury. And even going back to a little bit before the injury, he had started to swing the bat better. And he swung the bat well since coming off the IL. To me, it's a good sign. And to me, you hope the power, the thump is going to come in the coming days and weeks for Xander. That's my hope. I think it will. I think it's certainly in there for Xander. But to me, the fact that he's come off the IL after missing a month and a half or so and has collected hits in the way he has, to me is a very positive sign. And I read some of what Kevin Acee reported in the San Diego Union Tribune from Washington this morning. There were a couple of other quotes here from Bogaerts that I want to get to as part of this conversation. And this is Kevin writing. Bogaerts said he has also been hesitant to swing as hard as he can. Quote, I don't want to go all out. Quote, I don't want to go all out right now. And then I do something and take 5 steps back. Quote, they say I'm good, but, and it trails off. And then a little bit later, quote, I'll take it. Feels good to be able to do that. We're not getting ungrateful here for hits. So look, he's come back. He's put the bat on the ball. It's all been singles. But to me, that's okay right now. Let's see what it looks like in a few weeks when he's, more in the swing of things coming off the IL. Let's see what it looks like in a few weeks, in a month. I mean, look, I said it when he came off the IL. To me, this was a really nice opportunity for Xander Bogaerts in the final 2+ months of the season when he came off the injury. And I said that for really 2 reasons. Number one, the rough start he had in the first month and a half before the injury. But also number 2, without Fernando, with some of the injuries this team has dealt with, there's a real opening and a real opportunity for Xander to step in and step up and be a big part of a team that goes on a run. And my goodness, the guy that was in Boston was really capable of that. And it's in there for him. So to me, it's been a good sign so far what he's done. The thump is in there. Let's see what it looks like in a few weeks. And hopefully this bat to ball that we've seen so far starts to translate into power and extra bases and RBIs. I think that's your hope right now. And remember, there was that one ball he hit in Cleveland where he missed a home run by like a foot and ended up being a single just because it ricocheted off the wall and Bogaerts could only get to first base. But, he almost had a home run in this stretch as well the other way. So be a little patient with Xander is what I'd say. I think to this point, what we've seen, the base hits, the singles, a very good sign for a guy coming off the IL. Let's go to Carson calling in from Rhode Island. Hi, Carson.
How we doing this morning?
Doing well.
So, yeah, my daughter goes to daycare Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I kind of sit with my son, and we look for, like, an early baseball game. We noticed they're all kind of out on the West Coast this morning, and
okay,
we tune in to see the Padres. I mean, we're from Rhode Island, so close to the Red Sox, so I've been following Bogaerts a long, long time. So I kind of root for the local guy, or who used to be a semi-local guy.
Yeah.
Just kind of, we were just kind of curious. He's like, Dad, the game just started. What's happening? He's only 8, but he's a fan of the game, and it's just kind of like, did they not see the weather coming? Did they think it was just going to kind of pass or be light rain? How does it just like happen to? I think it was less than 10 minutes into the game before that rain delay kind of hit.
Yeah, look, I said it earlier, Carson, and appreciate the phone call. Cool to hear somebody from Rhode Island just tuning into an early baseball game on this Thursday. I said it earlier. Look, I'm not the weather guy, and to be quite honest with you, Carson, I'm sitting in San Diego in the studio right now, so I'm not in Washington. I did not see how the weather, came to be and what happened exactly, and how long it took them to take the cover off the tarp and the grounds crew and all that. I'm not there, but your point leads me to this again. Unfortunately, this is sort of the situation that you don't ever want to happen as a team and as a manager and as a pitcher, because if you know rain's coming, and even if you just want to play it safe, you can put the tarp on the field. And again, I'm not pointing blame here. I'm just talking and talking through the scenarios. It is what it is at this point for today's game. But you want to put the tarp on the field and wait it out and not have the starting pitchers go to the bullpen, get loose, get hot, throw their pregame bullpen, and then they're ready to go. Because once those pitchers throw that pregame bullpen, even though first pitch hasn't happened, it's on. I mean, you are on the clock once those guys start warming up. And everything after that, well, if there's any kind of weather, your starting pitchers can get affected by that. So the point is, having a delay 23 pitches in the top of the first inning is honestly like worst case scenario, because from the Nationals perspective, you've got Corbin warmed up, pitching 23 pitches in. He's in a jam in the first inning. And still from the Padres perspective, you got a problem because Dylan Cease has now warmed up. He's loose. He's ready to go. And now he's sitting around for what's going to end up being an hour and a half or so before he gets into the game in the bottom half of the first inning. So again, I'm not pointing blame at anybody. It is what it is. It happens. Okay, this is not the first time in baseball history, Major League history, that we've started a game and had a rain delay in the first inning. It happens. But it does create a tough situation. And look, I don't know. I haven't seen anything on social media so far. I've not received a report from anybody in D.C. yet as far as, is Dylan Cease out there starting to get loose again? Is Patrick Corbin going to come back out? I don't know. To be honest with you, after an hour and a half, would somebody like a Corbin need a little bit more to get loose again rather than the handful of pitches he gets before the inning? I'm not totally sure about all of that. And at this moment, I'm not sure if Patrick Corbin is coming back out for the top of the first inning. And at this moment, you're not sure if Dylan Cease is coming back out. And again, the Padres have a situation tomorrow where we don't know who their starting pitcher is yet. So there's a number of different variables here that could happen. Like, I'm even thinking in my head right now, would there be a scenario where you'd pivot to a bullpen day today and you'd push Cease to tomorrow? Again, I'm just thinking out loud here, but we're going to find out in about 10, 15 minutes when these guys come out. But look, it's not the longest rain delay ever, an hour, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it's going to end up being. It's not the longest delay ever, but it's not the shortest either. I mean, a short delay is, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and we're back. It's going to end up being an hour and a half after guys were already, at the very least, warmed up and pitching. So we shall see. I don't quite have the answer for you, but appreciate the phone call, Carson in Rhode Island. All right, let's step aside here on the Padres Radio Network. Again, today's game is going to restart at 10:30 a.m., and we'll find out all the answers to those questions we just talked about. We have a scoreless game in the first inning. Padres have the bases loaded with 2 outs. Ha-Sung Kim at the plate. We'll come back with more rain delay coverage after this. Back here on the Padres Radio Network, Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Again, we are in a rain delay in the first inning of this series finale between the Padres and the Washington Nationals. First inning, Padres have the bases loaded with 2 outs. Ha-Sung Kim at the plate against Patrick Corbin. A 1-ball, no strike count. Will Patrick Corbin come back out, complete that at bat? Who knows? Will Dylan Cease come back out for the bottom half of the first inning after what will be about an hour, 25, 30-minute rain delay for him personally by the time the bottom half of the first inning begins? Who knows? We're going to find that out in, about 6-7 minutes. We'll go out to Jesse and Tony shortly here. They'll reset the scene for you. Again, series finale between the Padres and the Nationals. Padres won Game 1 of this series by a final score of 4-0. Game 2 of this series, 12-3. That was last night. And the Padres, again, trying to sweep this season series from the Nationals. They swept them in San Diego back in June. Won the first 2 games of this series, an opportunity to go 6-0 against the Nationals here in 2024. Anytime you can do that, that's pretty cool, right? To sweep a season series against a team in the major league. So we'll see if the Padres can do that here today in Washington. Long way to go, and we'll continue to keep you company right up until we send it out to Jesse and Tony. Let's go back to the phones, 833-288-0973. We go to El Cajon. It's Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Sammy, how are you?
I'm doing well, Steve. Getting a little extra work in today. Maybe they'll bump up my paycheck. Who knows?
It never hurts to get extra work in, Sammy. That's what keeps you looking so young and good.
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
All right, Sammy, I have an idea.
All right, go for it.
I think we play better on the road, as we all know. We're a very good road team. So here's my idea. I think the Padres should have a promotion every night at home where they dress all the fans in the road team uniform, in the visiting team's uniform, so we look like we're on the road.
Well, Steve, very creative. I don't know that you can convince the Padres front office to do that, but Steve, I appreciate the creativity. To your point, Steve, on the road this season, the Padres are 28-22. They're 26-28. At home. So they've actually been a better road team than a home team this season. But Steve with the creativity. Phone number 833-288-0973. Let's go back through some of our pregame notes here, because why not? It's not like all that much happened, right, before we got started, or I should say after the rain delay started. So let's go back through some of our pregame notes here. And again, we're going to get you out to Jesse and Tony in just a little bit. So stay tuned for that. Padres come in a record of 54-50 on the season. After losing the opener of this 9-game road trip, the Padres have now won 4 in a row, 2 games in Cleveland, 2 games against the Nationals. Nationals, meanwhile, come in 47-55. Like we said a little while ago, Padres 5-0 against the Nationals. So far in 2024, Padres swept them here in San Diego, trying to make it a perfect 6-0 against the Nationals this season. You take a look at the NL wildcard picture as of this morning. It looked like this. The Padres entered today just 1 game back in the loss column of the St. Louis Cardinals for the 3rd and final wild card spot. Now, when you look at those standings, you'll see that the Padres and the Cardinals are actually tied for that 3rd spot. Cardinals have a percentage point better as far as winning percentage. The reason I say it the way I do is because it's important to look at the loss column, because in reality, that's where the difference ultimately will be. The Cardinals have 49 losses. The Padres have 50 losses. So when you look at the loss column, they're 1 loss back. But right now, as far as winning percentage, the Cardinals have a .520 winning percentage. Padres are at .519. So they're essentially right there with one another. Not that it really matters all that much here on July 25th. But here's how the wild card picture looks right now. Atlanta in the number 1 wild card spot at 54-46. The Mets at 53-48 in the number 2 spot. They continue to play really well. They just won 2 games against the Yankees. Cardinals, again, they technically hold that final wild card spot at 53-49. Padres are 54 550 on the season on the outside looking in. Arizona, a half game back of the Padres. Pittsburgh, 1 game out of that final wild card spot. So that's the way things shape up as we send you back to Washington, D.C. We resume today's game, the series finale between the Padres and Nationals. Jesse, we send it back to you.
All right, Sam, thanks very much. Nice job, and way to keep it moving while we wait things out here. If you look down at the field right now, which of course we are, it looks like we're ready for baseball. Patrick Corbin is back out of the mound for the Nats and warming up. Pods have